hang on. Maybe. Yeah, maybe we're live.
Okay. Well, close
I
up the
think
We'll find out.
maybe I got a notification. Yeah. Oh, maybe I should turn up the sound. Well, I think we are live. Let's just go for it. Okay. So art
Okay.
supply. Let's talk some art supply.
Let's talk some art supplies.
I
Hi,
can.
Maya.
Hi, Janelle. How are you? Nice to meet you.
I am great. It's so nice to be on with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I'm so happy that you can join me because it's so much more fun to talk art supplies with someone else instead of just me and myself.
I agree.
So,
It's more fun when you're doing art with your friends. It really is.
absolutely. So the reason the reason why I wanted to do this art supply thing, because I've had several questions about how how do you
How to get started, right?
how to get started, what you need, what is important to think about, because there is a lot of art supplies out there and it's a jungle, and something is good and something is not so good, and what's important and what's not so important. And when you're starting, it's hard to know all these things.
So we're starting with watercolors today.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got some really basic stuff here. And
Yeah, you
basically,
actually have some stuff. I'm just sitting here and just doing nothing. Sorry.
well, you're gonna need some paper, something to paint on. It doesn't necessarily have to be paper. It could be an old piece of cardboard, just whatever you got at hand. I think Maya's gonna have some fancier paper. I've just got cardstock this morning. And you're gonna need some water. Nice clean water. I like to keep two because I like to keep one to clean my brush and one to mix the paint. And you want to keep clear water to mix your paint. You're gonna need a brush of some kind.
I
and you're gonna
have
need
this
some paint.
so I can add the dirty water there, and I can
Nice.
sit there, and so it's nice to
Nice.
have clean water.
And I brought some paints. I brought some really entry-level paint, and this is my old set from years ago. I don't know if you can even buy them in the metal tins anymore, but you can find them in the school supplies. Here's a more modern one. And
So, but
got some cakes of watercolor. This is really cost a few bucks. Pretty easy to get started in this. What have you got over there, Maya?
I have paper because, believe it or not, paper is the thing you really should focus about. You spend most of the money of paper. That's my advice, and take it or leave it. But trust me, I think you will. I think at the end of the day, I think you will learn.
That's good advice.
This is just something I have to. I bought just on the. Yeah, it's just a stupid, nothing. Yeah, but it's 180 grams. I don't know how much that is in pounds.
That's a pretty nice stiff paper, and that's what you want to look for in a watercolor.
No. Well, this is not. This is like when it's G. It's where's my mic? You can. It's it's kind of. Can you hear this? It's not so.
Okay.
It's not so thick. It's not so thick. And then you have this. This is. It's supposed to be like in the middle. This is 300 GSM.
Nice.
still doesn't say how much. Well, yeah, 140 pounds. 300
So
grams is so.
the cardstock I'm working
that's-
with is 80-pound paper, so it's really lightweight. And I've got a couple of tricks for how to keep it from curling up and being troublesome. But that nice heavyweight paper that Maya's got will stay flat, and it'll take the water a little bit better than something that's the lightweight like what I'm using.
Yeah, and to buy a good watercolor paper, and well, this is like the high-end cotton paper, very expensive. Well, I think it's very expensive, and it is kind of from out of the. It's in the most expensive range, so I don't know if you can, but you can hear it's a different sound. You can hear it's thicker, and this is this is 100% cotton, and this is the rough one, because there are three. There are hot pressed, cold pressed, and rough paper.
And the hot press will be the smoothest, right?
Yeah, but yeah, and you just think about if you are ironing something, like smoothing out something, and the cold press is what actually maybe probably most people use. I like the rough paper because it's about how rough the surface is. So, and the cotton paper is usually kind of expensive, and the what's this called? And now I forgot. This is,
So when you wet your paper, it likes to curl up. So I have a trick for that, and that is to wet both sides of my paper, and that magically makes it just lay flat.
Yeah,
So,
but when it starts to dry, it will curl up, right? It does. Mine does that.
not
Mine
too
like-
badly. I'm just making kind of informal pages that go in my art journal. So I'm ending up with this, and it's got some wibbles and wobbles on it, but it's mostly flat. And as I work with it and put the pen on it, it will flatten out, and when I add more media to it. So that's gives it a little bit of character. It's not a negative, I don't think, in the way that I'm using it.
I'm well, of course it depends on what you are going to do with the painting. If you are keeping it for yourself, if you are just testing it, or if you are, but I think, well, now I'm speaking for me. If I was supposed to sell something, I would want it to be as flat as possible and not as wonky, and
Absolutely.
just doing it for fun. It's not a problem, except I think it's annoying, but that's another thing. So I like to tape it down. I tape down the paper. So and then I keep the tape on until it's completely dry. I don't, so it dries as flat as possible. So
Maya's bringing the art side of it, and I'm bringing you the craft, or I think craft side of it, I suppose.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it depends on what you are going to do with it. Like I said, but this is kind of looking for it. This is not very, very expensive paper, and it's not cotton, but it's okay. And this is glued on all sides, so this is like is it a block, or is it it's a glued pad, right? I can never remember.
Oh, nice. I've worked with those a little bit.
But anyway, they are glued on all sides, so you paint and then it dries, and then you can take you take you just remove it. So
So you don't have to tape that down when you buy the ones that are glued all the way around the block, right?
right, yes, that's because it's to keep it flat. So but
Now, is that an arches pad? And is there like a little area, maybe an inch or so, where there's not glue, so you can get a razor blade in and then slit the paper off the top of the block?
yeah, we can try to.
I know the first time I tried to use one of those, I had a hard time getting the paper off the block.
I know. I
Particularly
did not
kids too.
understand why why they made it so hard because I took off the paper before I painted, and I didn't understand how it worked.
Yeah,
But
no,
there is it's a gap
you
here, so you just take something and you just slide it all the way around, and boom,
nice.
it's loose.
Oh, I've got a lot of shadows on my space here.
Yeah, I have the light. It's hard. The lighting is hard, so I think it looks. Does it look dark? Because I always, for my art stuff, my art desk, I always buy like white light, not the yellow light, and it makes everything look really bright.
Yeah, when I'm working, I often use one of those OTT lights that are color corrected. It makes a difference, especially with these new LED lights, which that's all we can buy here in the States anymore, are the LED light bulbs.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I know, yeah.
as they age, they start to have kind of a funny spectrum, and they can really trick your eye and fool you about what hue you're getting on your paper. And then you take your painting into natural sunlight and go, well, I don't think I used that color, but it looked good under the fluorescent or under the LED.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So I do I've used those color correct lights for quite a long time. When I was doing beaded jewelry, they really helped to illuminate the beads in an accurate way so that you didn't put in hours of work and then find out, oh, well, those two shades of green really clash.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I know. It's a lot to think about. So I like to paint small, like smaller. It's rare I paint on a big sheet. And especially in the beginning, I like because when you are painting with watercolor, it's all about controlling the water, like we were saying, and the trick is to keep it wet. Like, oh, hi Fiona. We have Fiona here.
Good, Fiona. Oh, good morning, Fiona. Good morning again.
So, because if you're painting and some of the area of the painting is drying faster than the other, it can make it look wonky and weird. So, and the bigger the sheet is, the harder it is to keep everything wet or something. So
Yeah.
So I like and that's the thing about the cotton paper, because it stays wet so much longer, and it's easier to not get the blooming and the weird edges, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing with the, but like I said, in the beginning you are going through a lot of paper, and of course if you have money for it, I would say just go for the cotton paper at once, but many of us don't have that kind of money, so but to find, yeah, and the thing is, what the paper I like, you might not like. So there are different sizes of paper, like blocks. Like I would say, try to buy a small block or paper pad, or like a pad or whatever, and try the paper, because it's so, paper can be so different, and what one person like, the other person might hate. So you just have to try, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And I would say better to buy a small pad of higher quality paper than a big pad of low quality paper, because paper is its
Yeah.
own joy. And when you like, I'm working on cardstock. This is smooth. It's meant to be run through a printer. It's not really made for art at all. So it behaves in ways that are a bit of a challenge. It would be different if I was working on watercolor paper, but where I'm going to go with this, it's fine for that application in the end. But at this step, it's a little challenging. So if you're starting out, I would say
If
do
you are
yourself a
starting,
favor. Yeah, don't sign up for challenges you don't have to have when you're beginning and when you're learning.
exactly,
Try things
exactly. And
that facilitate your success.
yeah. Hi, Rika. Nice to see you.
Oh, Rika's here this morning. Good morning, Rika. I can't see the chat, so I'll have to rely on Maya to translate chat for me.
Are you on a computer?
I am on my phone, and the only app I can have open is StreamYard.
Okay, yeah.
If I
Okay.
switch over to even check my email, StreamYard goes right back to screen 1 for me. So
Okay, don't touch anything, please.
I'm trying not to.
Stay put. Well, and I was going to say, to start out with painting on cardstock, I think can be not so fun. At least you won't get the same joy as you would with some.
No, you're not going to make
paper.
a painting. You might make a card. You might make a piece of paper that you can cut and use for rubber stamping and card stuff. So Maya, you said that you mentioned that wetting your materials and wetting your paper is pretty key, and I would agree with that. One of the tools I've found, we didn't use this back in the day when I first started to learn to use watercolor paints, but now I think a lot of artists use a spray bottle, and
Yes.
it is so much easier to wet your paints with a spray bottle than to dip the water and then come in and mix the paint, and then you got to rinse your brush and get the clean water and mix your paint. So these spray bottles are available at, they used to be a Dollar Tree. And I think the first time I bought them, there was 5 or 6 in the package for $1, and now they're 2 or 3 in a package for $1. But they last pretty long, and they give a nice, even, fine spray. So you don't have to go big. You can buy specialty sprayers that are, $12 or $15, but I'm kind of cheap on these guys. What do you use for wetting your paper?
I use a spray bottle all the time. I can't live without a spray bottle. But I was going to say, if you have only cardstock and you have a bunch of cardstock you want to use, there is a watercolor ground you can buy.
Nice. Nice. Yes,
to,
yes.
to put on to kind of make the water not sink into the paper, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I have not actually used this as much. I tried it once or twice, but I don't know. So yeah, and I have heard if you are making mistakes in a painting too, you can actually take this and put it on the where the mistakes area is, and you get kind of a white surface again. But I don't know. I haven't tried it. But
I think we got Maya to dip into her hoard of art supplies there, didn't we?
yeah. Oh yeah. I just remember. Oh wow! I have that thing. I had forgotten I had. So yeah. So anyway, you have the paper, and you want some paint, and the paint it's not actually that important. Well, it's important, but not like I don't know.
So I'm gonna
You
pull
can
this one out and set it aside to dry for a bit.
with you can make nice art with good quality paper and bad cheap paint, and you can make but if you have good quality paint and bad paper, it will be much harder. So the paper is number one, in my opinion.
So I'm gonna just pull out a couple of things to show you where I'm going with what I'm working on here. Here's another background piece that I did last night, so it's all nice and dry. I'll usually do one color set and then I'll let it dry, and then I come back in and I'll lay down another color. And this one I started with the gray, and then after that dried I came back in with the green and kind of a yellowy color. And then from there, what I'm doing with them is
That's
taking...
nice. Oh, I love the colors.
Thank you.
Hi, Matrix. Happy to see you.
And I'm using the Micron pigment markers, or these run about $3 a piece where I live. Sharpie, ultra fine, they'll work just as well. They work just as well, and they're accessible. You can buy them in any grocery store, and they've got a nice fine point. Doesn't really matter what brand, as long as it's permanent, and so it doesn't react to water, because I will sometimes, after I do my outlines, come back in with another wet media, and I don't want the pen ink to run. So these are just really, they just start out with play of finding colors that that my mood, that just whatever I'm in the mood for that day. Sometimes it's something kind of the soothing greens and purples and blues, and sometimes something.
Did you use your cheap paint on that? You were talking about the set you had.
Some of these, and some of them I'm using a $7 tube of paint on, as well as the student grade. It just once it dries, I might come in on the second layer and I might use a completely different set. This is something I've discovered, and they're made in Japan, and they are, I'm not sure, my Japanese is non-existent. I think one of my friends taught me to say "wakurimasen" when I answered the phone in the dormitory back in college, which means I don't speak any Japanese. Hold on. But I went down the hall and get my Japanese dorm mate. But Gansai Tambi, and their Japanese traditional paint that is, to my way of thinking, they're a little bit between a gouache and a watercolor. They've got a lot more body to them. They're not quite opaque over the top of one another, but much more so than a watercolor. But you can dilute them into a wash. that is very much like watercolor. So I've been using a lot of these, and as you can see, the colors are just brilliant, and they go onto the paper just as brilliant as they are in the pans. There's some color swatches of what they look like. And oh my gosh, I just love the Japanese art supplies. I gotta tell you, that is there's the Japanese pens and the Japanese paints are just lovely to work with. And this was a really
I-
reasonably priced set too. I don't know what they are in Europe because you would have different import taxes, but here, this set was, I want to say, right around $22. So 36 paints in here, I think, something like that.
Oh, what? Hey, what do you say? 22?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't
Oh,
always
wow.
go low end. Sometimes I get out the good stuff.
I can assure you, it's more expensive here. But still, well, that's one of the brands that I don't have. Actually, I have never tried it.
Yeah, I ran across it in a college bookstore. You know, sometimes the colleges will stock supplies for the art classes, and you can find art supplies at very reasonable prices there because they're trying to stock stuff for students. So students are usually on a budget, so that's a place where you can find art supplies. Where do you have any places where you like to look
wait,
for art supplies?
hang on. I have an echo. Wait. Just a second. What? Can you hear echo?
No, but I think we've got a third screen. Did you bring somebody else into the chat or into the stream? Is that why we've got the echo?
Yeah, I can't remove it. Just hang on a second. How the heck can I?
There we go. Please stand by. We're having technical difficulties. All right. I think we've had enough rocks there. Maybe I'll show a couple of these pictures of. Sometimes the blobs turn themselves into flowers, too. That one didn't start out as blobs, so.
You can just talk while I'm fixing
Would you
this.
like me to? Would you like me to entertain the crowds and while
Yes,
you're?
please entertain.
Okay, alrighty.
Please entertain.
Okay, so this is just a pretty humble piece of paper, and it's not anything representational. All it is wetting the paper, putting some paint on, and just letting the brush take the paint wherever it wants to go. And so I don't have the pressure of trying to paint a tree or a flower or a cat. I'm just playing with paint on the paper. And then I take the pen to it, and sometimes it'll turn into, let's see, let me get a good one here where it just turned into a garden. All the different areas. These were roses and daffodils and daisies and little forget-me-nots and leaves. So you don't have to really be an accomplished painter to incorporate paint into your artwork that you're using. I think most of us, we do know how to, if you write very much, you're used to holding a pen in your hand. Some of these shapes, like that's just an L or an E. It's just you do know how to draw. You just probably need to practice a bit and it'll come along.
Yeah, it's nice to see you here, Matrix, and to everyone who's here. Nice to see you. And hey, woohoo!
Sometimes I was going to turn the page quickly because I'm really not very satisfied with this one. It's kind of a disaster. I didn't really enjoy how the colors turned out, but maybe I'll look at it in a week and I'll go, oh, I kind of like it. Okay.
I think that's gorgeous.
Well, thank you. I like it better today than I did yesterday. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So some of the blanks, I called them blanks. Sometimes I'm thinking about what I might want to paint. This one, once I get the pen to it, is hopefully going to become some spikes of larkspur or some sort of a spiky flower with clusters of little florets on it.
When I'm trying to do those things, it usually just turns into a mess, and
then you can draw pebbles on it. Pebbles are good for when you make a mess on the paper.
Yeah, but I don't know. My brain can't quite figure out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's enough
But
of it.
anyway, you can paint with cheap. Well, maybe you should, before you can paint, you need the brushes.
Yeah. What do you like in a brush? I like a camel hair or a natural hair brush when I'm working with watercolors. What do you like, Maya?
Well, I don't like natural hair brushes because of the animal thing. Well, the only natural hair is like hog hair. Is that that was called? Because the pig, the pig is been killed anyway. They don't like squirrel hair. They keep killing the squirrels to get the hair. For me to have a brush, no, I don't think so. So, and now they make the synthetic hair brushes are really good. I have a couple of natural hair brushes because I bought before I knew what I was doing. So, and obviously I won't throw them away because I have them, and so I keep them. But I think they're too soft, kind of. I like I really like. Let me get
That is a really that's a really valid point. And I have paint brushes that belong to my grandmother. So she was, in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So I have brushes that are probably older than I am, and with care they will last a long time.
Oh yes,
and of course I like that point that we don't want to be hurting animals.
Back in the days, there were also, well, the natural hair brushes was the good ones, and the rest was just awful. So there was not that many options. But now I really like Princeton Neptune. It's it's a fake squirrel hair, and it's quite well. I don't like them too soft. So, and I also like this Roman Schmoll brushes. They are synthetic squirrel hair, and they are a bit. This one is softer. This one is not so soft, but still soft. So, but they can be expensive in the beginning if you're just trying out this.
Yeah. I have
So-
a couple of my flats are the Winsor and Newton that are synthetic, and they are outrageous. This brush to buy in the store is about $75. So they're not
Oh,
inexpensive, but they are a lifetime brush,
Yeah.
and it's pretty soft. Oh, I got paint all over myself here. Yeah. Yeah, well, take care of your brushes. Clean them out when you're done using them, and store them
Yeah.
away from, especially if you're using anything that's got natural bristles in it. Do store those in a place that moths cannot get to them, because they can become moth-eaten.
Ooh, okay.
That's a downside of natural bristles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, and also if when you are like can you see this? Like this one that is kind of I think it's expensive, but of course there are much more expensive options. But like I have this in the bottom, you see that you
Oh,
are not that you are not like
yeah,
you
don't
them
leave
in
them
the
sitting in there.
and I just kind of swirl it like swoosh it around here and maybe in like
Yeah.
and never leave them in there. Never leave them in there.
This is one of the great things about watercolor. This is how you clean your brush.
Yeah, right. And
That's it.
and when you are
That's it. If
when
you're
you
in
take
acrylic,
when you,
it's
yeah,
done.
when you take them out, you can like dry them out and you shape the tip
Yeah.
so the tip is nice and pointed.
And don't use your mouth for that, like my grandmother did. Some of these paints contain. They're mostly safe today. We don't have a lot of toxic
Yeah.
paints. But if you're using vintage
no.
paint, they could have things in there like
Yeah.
lead or cadmium and cobalt
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things
yeah.
you really shouldn't have.
And when you have used them and when they are still wet, you lie them flat so they until they are dry. If you leave them up like you want, like we
It'll
always did, the water will
softens the
sink
glue.
down. The water will come down the ferrule or whatever it's called, and the gluing and stuff, and it will come here, and it will not. It will be
Yeah,
destroyed.
the
will-
water will run right back down the ferrule, and the bristles
Yeah.
are held in by glue, and traditionally like a hide glue, right? And the water will soften it, and then you'll lose the bristles, and then once they start to go, your
Yeah.
brush will shed and shed. So
and this thing, that's where the wood will it will not look good. Hi,
Yeah.
Robert. Remember what happened to the uranium girls?
Yeah. The girls that painted the watch dials, they with the glow in the dark paint, they would tip the brush using their saliva, and they would be basically licking that radium off the paintbrush, and that they died. A lot of them got cancer and died for glow in the dark watch dials.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I think Robert, did you read that story of there was a good book, I can't think of the title of it, but I think we needed watches for pilots and for our military during wartime that had an iridescent or a luminous dial so it could be seen in the dark.
I never heard of that. I don't think. But okay, my dog. Yeah. Come there. Just. So this is like a synthetic. It's also Princeton. It's not really cheap, but it's not really expensive either. So, and this is all synthetic.
He's telling you a story there.
Oh, he's sitting on his throne on the couch that makes him be able to look out the window, and he's having some. Yeah, he's probably seeing something. But anyway, this brush is is more spring to it, it will, if you switch, if you do this, it springs back to its shape. So it's kind of
Yeah, that's
easier.
the nice part about
This,
the new
and
synthetic brushes is they hold their shape
this will
really
kind of
nicely.
do it, but it it's not quite doing that. So I think this is a nice in-between option. So not too soft and not too, because to paint with the really soft brushes can be hard, right? I think so. So
Well, they have different purposes. I sometimes paint with a calligraphy brush, which is ridiculously soft, but
yeah,
it makes a
yeah.
wonderful line.
It depends on what you are doing, and but I'm thinking about like when you're first starting out, like in the early beginning.
Hmm.
I think it can be easier to start out with something with a little bit of spring to kind of get the not too hard, but well, it depends. Of course, that's it depends on what you like. But what I'm trying to say is the brushes is kind of what you are in the beginning. I think you can use the least amount of money on, because you can easily find something really cheap that's perfectly good to paint with, and to kind of feel if it's no point in just buying a lot of expensive stuff and then you figure out, oh, well, no, this is not something I like to do. So but but it's nice, to have a nice brush. I won't deny it. Oh, did we lose her? Oh, okay. She has some internet trouble, so hopefully we can have her back. This is a natural hair brush. Well, I'm going to show you how it's not springy, but it keeps springs back anyway. Anyway. So if you're going for when you're buying paint, there's a lot of course there's a lot of different paints too. There is yeah, well, like Janelle, she had some, I don't know if she showed them, but like just like the school grade things kids paint. You can make beautiful art with some kids paint. The thing with like the cheapest paint, often they have a lot of filler, and that can make it like chalky, and it's not, you won't get the nice watercolor feeling. But some of them are um, are okay. So if you have some if you have kids some have some paint, just try them. Let me see if I can mm, mm, mm. Okay, there we go. Oh, go to bed, Fiona. Good night. Thank you for coming. Sleep tight. What was I saying? Yeah, the kids paint. I didn't pull out the kids paint. I have kids painting, but I'm not sure where. I'm going to be honest. But I started out with the Winsor & Newton Cotman paint. It's a student grade paint. So it's okay. Personally, it was not my favorite because I thought it, and this was the first time I have ever had some watercolor painting paints that yeah, like from my, since I was a kid using the kids paint. So anyway, I bought this Winsor & Newton set, and this is actually the paint. Can you see how much I love them? 3 years later, I still have them. I didn't like them, and that made me feel like I didn't get as much joy as I could have. They are hard to. Sorry about my dog. He's. Hang on. Hang on. I pretend I can shout to him and tell him to be quiet, but I can't. He's my kid. He's just. Yeah, the paint. Yeah, they're hard to re-wet. And when they dry, when they have been wet and they dry again, they keep cracking, like bulking and acting really weird, and they are stone hard, and well, it's hard to get the paints going. So I know people that I've been watching, like YouTube channels, and they actually spray down this paint. They spray it down like 5 minutes before they are going to paint, but I don't do that. If I'm going to paint, I'm going to paint. I don't wait 5 minutes. I don't have time for that shit. So I need paints that will actually start when I want it to start. So my first experience with this wasn't like super great. But after a while, I decided to buy because where I live, we don't have a lot of art supply stores. We have like a crafting store and a sort of a more with a bit more quality, but it's tiny and they don't have a lot of quality stuff. They didn't. They have more now actually. But anyway, they had Van Gogh watercolors. So I thought I was going to try the Van Goghs, and they actually was re-wetting so much easier, and there was so much more joy to paint with, and I was so happy. So I don't know if you can if you can see this actually, if yeah, this Winston Newton, it's like a rock. Hang on, here she's back. Hello.
Hi. I didn't
Did you
realize
need
how much battery. StreamYard just took a lot of battery, so
yeah.
try to get out here.
So you
Patty Lopez.
you said you had the same experiences I did with the Winston the Cotman paint.
Yeah. They're a bit challenging, and I don't adore the color range. I think it's really quite good if you're going to paint landscapes and that sort of thing. The greens and browns in the Cotman basic set are quite good for that. But I'm really fond of quite bright colors. I like an alizarin crimson rather than a cadmium red. So.
Oh yeah.
But you can just easily buy either half pans or tubes and augment your set.
Yeah, that's the thing. I started out with the beginner's set kind of thing, and then I bought some of the Van Gogh paints, but then I started to buy tubes instead, because I found out that I like tubes. That way I can.
I do a lot of stuff in tubes. I have koi, which are nice, vibrant, but like student priced. But I find that I end up just putting them into containers and letting them dry out into their semi-moist, because that's portable.
Robert, yeah.
Bye, Robert. Thanks for stopping in today.
Yeah, when you have tubes, you can squeeze them into whatever you want, and if you have this pans and you are going to do something with a big brush, it can be kind of And another thing with the brush, people usually use. I did this too. We use the brush we use tend to be too small to what we're working on. So you keep dipping and dipping, and if you're
it's hard to get a big brush into a half pan, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think we've got 3 of us up on the screen again, Maya.
Yeah, it's my second camera. It's
okay.
It's so I can get closer if I'm going to show something.
Okay.
Just for fun. I don't.
Yeah, so you can buy what are called half pans.
Yeah.
A full pan is double this size, and then you can just squirt your tube paints out, and you leave them to dry, and some of the water evaporates out of them, and they stay. I think this one's kind of tacky.
Did you hear about the? Did you hear about Winston and Newton? They said that you shouldn't buy their tubes and squeeze them into half pans.
Rules.
It was a big thing for a while, and everyone was saying like, why can't you do that? It's like it's that's just stupid. And
you try and stop me, Winston and Newton.
Yeah, right. Well, I have actually. I can see some of the paints that because the first tubes I bought was Cotman tubes, and when they dry, they crackle up and they just be like in pieces. Like it's just annoying. But if you, I don't know. So maybe that's why. But it was fun that they said that it wasn't supposed to do that. You had to buy the.
No, I'm way too cheap. even when the Cotman ones, when they dry in the tube, and they will, the old tubes that used to be made of metal, you could easily bend them around and get a little crack, and then the air would get in and the paint would harden. But I would split the tubes open with a razor blade and take
Oh,
the
yeah.
pigment out and just drop it into one of these little containers, just
Yeah.
whatever's at hand. And then I use distilled water, and I just cover the paint with the distilled water, put the cap lid on it, and it'll take several days, sometimes a week or two, but that paint will get re-wetted and it's perfectly usable. There's some tricks to really, get the most mileage out of your art supplies.
You know,
That's a joy about watercolors. They really don't go bad in the way that acrylic paints, because when acrylic paints dry up and get hard, they're done. That's just garbage.
you know, I bought some online, some really old. It's Winston & Newton, but it's artist grade. But some of them, it's like almost a film on top over it, and it's really weird. I have never and when maybe the one of them is like kind of small pieces. If I take it going to paint with it, you can see like this tiny pieces that is coming from the paint, and so I
Is it
didn't
a
like
different
that,
color material? Like, is it kind of clear and sticky? Because
No.
sometimes the wetting agents or the binder, like gum arabic, can separate from the pigment, the ground pigment.
Yes, it's like it's tiny, like it's sand grain. It's like some of the paints doesn't re-wet, and it's, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know where I put the.
Do you remember what color it was?
I believe one of them was sap green or olive green.
Oh, okay. So Terra Verde will do that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, it was olive green or sap green.
Was it do you remember if it was one of the greens that tended to do a lot of granulation? How some of the greens will, they almost separate when you put them in a wash and they leave little specks of color.
No. Yeah. No. This was funky, and it was a half pan. The paint was in like a half pan, and when it was kind of like it was so hard because it was cold, and it just didn't re-wet everything, kind of, sort of, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, I don't know, but they were old. I don't know how old, but
so were you able to salvage any of it?
No, it was this blue one. I don't remember what it was, but it had that film over it, and it was the green one was funky. So but I just didn't bother. I probably have it somewhere, but I don't know. I'm not sure where, and I don't mind because the other paints I bought, and they were just as old, but they were just fine. So anyway, if you are buying some tubes, you can buy this Paul Rubens. They are not so expensive, and of course the Cotman. There's also Shinhan. They're okay, and they are not so expensive. I don't have any. I don't know if they sell them in pens actually, but anyway, I don't. They are cheap, and yeah.
So what did you think about the Winsor and Newton prohibition on putting the tube paints into pans? Did you just go ahead and do it and just ignore them? Because that what the artist got together and voted and decided, oh no, We bought it, we'll use it as we like.
Yeah, well, this was after I had I had moved on from Cotman, so I didn't use Cotman anymore. So I put them in half pans and like or in other containers and but like I said, some of them could dry out dry so much that they cracked and became very hard to work. Like, hang on, like this one. I think this is Prussian blue from Cotman, and it's just, and I have tried to re-wet it and do all the things, and but it dries out and then it just becomes, yeah. So maybe that's why they said that it wasn't supposed to do that, but I don't know. But I found if I put paint in from a tube to a pan, you take maybe a toothpick or something and to actually what's it called, swirl it, like make it yeah, moved around before it dries out, so it gets even. I think I like to do that when I so yeah, so I don't know, maybe that's the problem. So I have, like, I bought a lot of art supplies from a woman that her daughter had died, and the daughter was an artist, so I got a lot of stuff for cheap, and of course then I don't use it, so I don't really know what to do with it. So yeah, well, yeah, because some have been asking about cheap paint and some have been asking about, I think that the Van Gogh paint, I think that's a really good option for a cheap good paint. It moves and it it's not expensive, and I have heard several, like, professional artists that actually also think they are like the Van Gogh paint is really good to be a student grade paint. And yeah, so but if you are going even more higher, in the higher range, you can, well, and the paints, they have different qualities. That's the thing too. You need to the paints I like, you may not like, and yeah, so because like this Sennelier, they have
Oh my goodness.
honey in them, so they are sticky. And hi, Raoul. Oh, my new friend Raoul is here. Oh, I guess you're multitasking on. You are probably a model somewhere. You know, this week I found something. I found a fun community where there are a lot of crafters, and they do all sorts of things, and they are, and this week they are having a streamathon, so they are streaming all day from Monday to Saturday, I think.
Oh my
So all day
goodness.
around, 24 hours a day, and they switch, like, okay, this time you're going to stream, and and when they are done, someone else takes over. So the streams are going and going and going, and I'm just, oh my god, and subscribing, and and they are so fun, and I keep watching all the fun stuff they do, and I just I want this and I want this, and I don't I don't
Art
have
all
the
the
money
time.
to art 24 hours a day for it's been I love it.
Me
Amazing.
too.
And
It's always time for art.
Streamathon, yeah, and everything. And like, so I don't sew. I glue. Like I said, the person who who invented fabric glue should have a medal. And I'm not a sewer. And yeah, he said yes. We are a. Hang on, I'm not good at the streaming stuff. Sorry. We are a big community of more than 400 plus. Oh yeah, yes, it's Saturday. And next project is Halloween. 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 Huh. I will organize. Yeah, it's super fun. So I appreciate everyone so much, and thank you, Raul. You have been so so kind and so welcoming. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Hang on, let me see. Now I will try to share a link from. How can I do that now? When I'm doing this. Janelle, you could. Sorry, I interrupted you. Just keep talking. If I don't remember if I. I was so excited. I saw it. Oh.
She's doing the technical stuff there. Well, do that. I can't do that from my end at all here. I can barely keep one screen going at a time.
Yeah, well, like I said, I just recently started doing this, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So
You're
but
doing
I'm
great.
learning.
You're boldly diving into it, and I sometimes I have a hard time doing something if I don't know 100% of, which is goofy because we never know 100% of something before we start doing it. Everything we've
Right,
got to come
I
through
know.
as beginners, but
Yeah,
it can really be intimidating.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, Raul, Janelle is not from Norway. She's from the United States.
I am in Oregon on the west coast of the United States. So I think, golly, are we 12 hours apart, Maya? We might be.
No.
No? Well,
Well,
I'm 8 hours
East,
away from London.
Yeah, then you are 9 hours away from me because I'm 1 hour away from London. So.
But art makes the distance less, doesn't it?
Yeah. Let's see.
Well, I'm in a painting phase right now because I'd run into a wall with my my sewing, my quilting. So it's nice to have different areas to work in. I knit and I do jewelry and all kinds of creative stuff. But I'm finding as I age, I'm looking at I'm in my 60s now, and I had to stop and take a look at my hoard of art and craft supplies and think about how many projects and how many hours it takes to make maybe a bracelet or a necklace or something out of polymer clay, and how many hours does it take to make a quilt top, and then how many hours to turn it into a quilt. And I'd had to have a heart procedure earlier this year, and I had 6 stents put into my heart. And I really had to confront because they weren't sure if they could do anything at first. I'd had a double bypass when I was 45, and those grafts had failed, and the doctor said, we can't. You're diabetic. You've got these other health problems. We cannot do an open procedure on you. So we're going to refer you to a specialist, and we're just going to see if there's anything they can do. So I had this period of time where I was feeling really badly. And I just kind of had to confront, how many more years do I have? How many projects do I have? What is the work that I want to do? What brings me joy? And there's
Yeah.
probably a few of my crafts that I'm not going to go back to because I wasn't finding my creative stride with them. And it's natural to go into fallow periods and creative periods, and no matter what media you're working in. And I had
Yeah.
a tendency to stay when kind of the creative juices had died back, or the flow had ebbed a bit, and you're still pushing because you had this idea and you think, oh, I can get there, but you go to the bench every day and you're not making the work. And I think sometimes it's wise to just take a step to the side and come at your creativity through a different media until you can fill up your well and come back to the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've
Yeah.
got to be engaged. You've got to be working. You're not going to get anything made if you're not working. But
Yeah,
it's okay
well, that
to just kind of, like, this stuff it's not on fancy paper. It's not representative, but it is me. One of these days, my creative stream is going to be full of all of the good
Yeah.
stuff again.
Yeah, because I wish I had like beads and I can think, but a lot of fun stuff, like crafty stuff that I want to do, but it's expensive, and I don't have a lot of money. When I have a lot of art supplies, but when I started buying this, I had I had more income than I have now. So
I feel
so
that.
that's the problem. So everything is so expensive, and I kind of have to choose if I'm going to learn do this, or if I'm learn like, and I don't know, and I can't afford to start, because then I will get all sucked into that, and I will just keep buying and buying, and I'm saying, okay, now I have to stick with this painting things. But that's the thing. If I don't feel inspired, or I don't feel if I sit in front of the computer, or just watch like YouTube, a stream, or like an art stream or something, sometimes I can get really inspired, and sometimes I just sit and watch, and I kind of feel like I have been doing something, even though I didn't, but I feel like I have. So I don't know. So but Raoul, we are not really kind of painting the thing today. I've been asking some questions. I have been asked questions about how to start, and what to think about, and what to buy and what not to buy, and just explain some things with about the watercolor. So we are kind of talking about watercolor and paper and art and whatever. We're just chatting along. Yeah, and he had now. I shared your link to Janelle, so he has subscribed to you.
Thank you so much.
Nice, thank you.
If you go to my community posts on my page after you're done watching Maya, don't run away right now, but you'll find some drawings that are of pebbles. I'm painting backgrounds right now for pebble drawings.
Yeah, we have to do a different stream sometimes about them. What do you call it now?
Mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness. Yes, and just to be in the moment and yeah, I don't know, just like
Here's a dried background.
do the stuff I can do the things you do, and I want to learn. I want to, yeah.
You just haven't tried yet. I know that you can do it.
Yeah, well,
I've seen-
I kind of
I've
have
seen
tried it. I have.
paintings. I think the trick with it is to get a lot of kind of splotchy shapes on your background, and then you've got something to outline.
Yeah, well, I have done the blobs. Have you seen the blobs?
No, no,
Um,
I don't think I have.
I really enjoy doing the blobs kind of things.
Yeah.
Let me see if
Yeah.
I can find it. I have shown them on another time, but I don't remember.
You know, it's possible
Yeah.
that your thing might not be Pebbles. Maybe Pebbles is just
Like-
my thing.
like- See,
It could be different.
put down the just a splash of paint, and you let it dry,
Oh,
and you find fun
lace guard.
figures, and you outline them, and you just
That's it. You're doing it.
yeah, but it's not the same.
It's not going to be because you're a different person. And the idea of this idea is to come to that time and place at the tip on the paper. And as you trace the shapes and you work your way around, it's about being present. The mindfulness is be
hang on,
and not thinking about
but you are having a bad connection for a bit.
the sound or
Are you there?
I'm here. Is this okay? I was kind of up on the so maybe I was distorting sound a little bit.
Yeah, it probably maybe it will. Sometimes it keeps coming and going, I guess. So it just keep on. I just didn't hear what you were saying.
I
But
was saying
I really like. I think it's fun to do this the blobs things, but I don't feel it's the same as what you do. So anyway,
well, you're
I think we lost her. Okay. Yeah, well, it's just me. So anyway, I was saying, if you are buying the tubes, and you buy the half pans, you can put them in. It's different kind of big pallets, and Janelle had a cute vintage palette. She putting some paint in. There's for smaller version. Now I can talk. This is like the smallest. You see how much I love this paint. Oh, is this the one that's weird? Yeah. Oh, you're back. Yeah, so you put
oh my
it's
goodness.
nice. It's nice to have this have a palette to have the paint in, of course, or you can go big and just knock your socks off. And I like this because I can get like a bigger brush in. So yeah. But then I got so much paint that and I need to see my stuff. If I don't see it, I don't use it. So that's the problem.
Oh, I'm that way too.
Hi, Karianne.
Hello. I don't know what
Okay.
happened there.
Thank you. Stopping by. So yeah, you figure out how you like to have it. So can I ask you, do you like the granulating colors, Jenna?
Well, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
me too. I love them.
But if you pick a granulating blue and you don't know it's going to granulate, and you get your wash and you lay down a sky and then that blue granulates, oh, is that frustrating?
Yeah,
A
I know.
in the foreground landscape is wonderful. It adds this kind of magic texture, and you don't really know what it's going to do, and you can never replicate it. And I mean, I love that kind of magical aspect of the granulating colors, but
Me
I don't
too.
like it when I put them in the wrong spot. So,
Well,
but generally,
yeah,
yes.
because that's the thing. When you buy some paint, if you buy a box of you buy new paint, you don't just start. Well, you can do, of course. I don't care this. Yeah, but I always, when I get new paint, I always try them and keep
Swatch,
them.
swatch, and swatch.
I love swatching and
them more.
swatching and swatching
Oh,
yeah.
me too.
To know what they are, to know what to get to know them, because they act. Look at this, the blue one. This is Lucas. Lucas is it pushes away everything, and
Oh boy, I got the light really out of adjustment
they
here.
you see that it travels. I don't know if I'm in
Anytime I get new paints, I love to make swatches. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like this paint set came with a label that listed the numbers and the names. And then there were little boxes here, but I used watercolor paper and put in strips of watercolor paper and did swatches for the colors. And
Yeah.
like, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
difference between cad red and red. It might not show up on the camera, but my eye sees a big difference. And then
Yeah.
when you swatch, you can also find out if you can get a nice wash of a color or how opaque it might be.
Yeah.
And yeah, here's an olive green that did a little bit of a funny thing when I got some water on it. So it's good to
Oh,
know
okay.
if your paint's going to misbehave, or maybe it's not misbehaving, but it'll be a little different.
Yeah.
One color from the
Yeah,
other.
that's the thing. Like all these paints, and I have another one like this, and I know which one is granulating and which one is not, and I know. I don't know kind of all the things, like how they are moving and how they are, but especially the granulating thing, because like you say, it's not so. It can be very messy if you put you won't get a nice clear sky with some granulating blues.
Mm-hmm.
So to know the basic stuff and know how, to know your paint, get to know your paint. I think
Yeah.
that's important.
Like when you're new at painting, it's who wants to stop and swatch? Why would I want to do that? Oh, that's just.
Oh, I want to do that.
Start painting. And
I love to swatch.
yeah, but I didn't when I first started painting. I thought it was a waste of time. And
Okay.
then after a few frustrations of having my paint behave really in a way that I didn't expect it to, because that's the thing about watercolors. each of these will behave differently. They're made of different kinds
Yeah.
of pigments. This one's made of an earth pigment. This one's colored using a chemical, something that's man-made that just has this beautiful hue, and it's ground up and added to binders and wetting agents and turned into a paint, but it behaves very differently. This blue is super concentrated, but the earth colors, sienna or umber, they've got a different intensity and they behave differently, and you just don't know until
Yeah.
you play with it.
And some paints like the umber, like raw umber and burnt umber, maybe they are often harder to re-wet,
Mhm.
like in all, because of how they are made. Probably, I don't know, but it's kind of like the same in most of the brands. And but anyway, you get to know your paints and look, this is like the granulating things you're talking about.
Mhm.
You see how it's kind of it's separating and
Yeah, it leaves
making,
little deposits of paint. And then the more, like Maya was talking earlier about cold press, hot press, and then
yeah,
a rough paper. Paper that's rough has surface undulations, and so the paint will almost precipitate out, and those little divots in the paper will catch those granulations and give you this wonderful texture.
yeah. And I have not I have not painted a lot with hot pressed paper because I like the ruffle or
See,
the
I love
one
the one that's
themes with,
textured.
yeah.
I
And
like
because
that serendipity thing it does.
I think because of them, because of the texture, you can do more kind of, or you can, because you can do like, and you get just the, like
I
for
love the the, te-
the
the
water, like
texture.
you,
The
yeah, you
texture
can see
paper is
the,
really fun for seascapes,
yeah, and you
but
can
for
do more like,
portraits, you want to. I like
yeah,
the smooth stuff for portraits.
yeah, 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 because it depends on what you are going to do. So yeah, and you just you have to try out for yourself, and of course how much to create a wash, you need to, yeah.
I'm making a mess.
That's the thing. This was the thing I was struggling with, making some. Hang on. Yeah. And some papers they have like the sizing and stuff on the on one side, and it's not so good on the other side. So and also something that's kind of smart to do is to mix up the paint before you start the paint. I'm not good at that. I suck at that, to be honest. I'd never do it. So but let's say I was going to paint the sky, and I want it to be smooth. And also remember to use enough water, because often in the beginning you tend to use not so much water. Yeah. So that's really blue. So we can add a little touch of. So if you are going for I can do this way. you're going for if you're going for a smooth sky, if you tilt the paper so it's kind of tilted downward, and you just start on the top. Say I didn't make enough. So it will run down, but you always keep, you can even just, so you always keep the bottom edge wet.
Yeah, once it dries, then you get the harsh lines.
And yeah, and as soon as when you are kind of done with it, you have to leave it until it's dry, or it will get blooms and it will not look that good.
Yeah,
I
here's an area of my paper right here that's blooming.
Yeah, and sometimes the blooming is great. I love the blooming, but maybe not in a clear blue sky.
Yeah, if you're making a little
Yeah.
shrub or a tree, a bloom can be
You can make-
magical. It can do exactly the job. But
yeah. Oh,
if you're wanting just a wash of color, you don't want your color to bloom into the other area.
and some clouds, maybe just take a brush and you dry it with paper and just dab in some clouds. Now it needs to dry. If this is not going to look like a mess, it should be drying.
Now, see, I'm trying to make a mess over here. So if you want to make a mess,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm not yeah,
they're both good.
waiting until things dry is not my strong side. Well, and when if you are going to, because you can see if it's kind of shiny, but if you are wondering, you can just stab your, because if you are, it will, yeah.
Oh, I cheat. I cheat on drawing, Maya. Do you know how I do that?
Oh, trust me, I cheat. Me too.
My workbench is right beside a vent. So I literally put my work onto this. It's just a kitchen cutting board, and I clip it on and I prop it over the vent.
Oh, cool.
And
That's
it's
cool.
it'll dry it in like 2 or 3 minutes because my air handler is always on moving air through my place in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no patience either.
I have this thing. Heat it, and it's get really hot. So, and you kind of just have to. It's much more.
Yeah, I'm gonna
it's
cheat this
really
one
hot.
right now. And I also try to work on I usually have at least 3 or 4 going at the same time just because I don't know what to do with myself when I'm in between. I like to kind of stay working, and that
Yeah,
is for me the biggest downside of watercolor is that wait time for the dry.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can have several going. I keep switching around, and because if you are using the granulating colors, that's the best to just leave it. If you're cheating, it won't do. It won't
Yeah,
be.
that's right.
It
I don't
won't be
put
as
those over the
matchy.
register. I let those
So
just dry down naturally
yeah,
because that's
yeah.
the best. That's the best effect.
And also another thing with watercolor is you have, if you are going to paint like a landscape or something, if you have a picture you are going to paint from or whatever, if you are outside, you need a plan. You need to think about how you're going to paint it, because you have to start with the lightest part of the painting and you work your way to the darkest. So if you you kind of have to see, like if I was going to put a tree over here, well, I could, because this is not so, it's not so dark. But if I was planning it ahead, I could have left some area here that was not as blue, because the watercolor is supposed to, the white of the paper is supposed to shine through and be the white. The white paper is supposed to be the white of the painting.
Mhm.
If you are like a real,
Yeah.
like a, what's it called? I don't remember. And many like to do that, but I don't. I like to
It
cheat
does.
because
You.
I always I always lose my white spots, so I like to have some white gouache around, hanging around.
Yeah, you use like China white, like a
No,
gouache.
Titanic white.
Ah, okay.
Chinese white is transparent. So I like titanium white is opaque, or I use this shit. Bleed proof white from Dr. P.H. Martins.
Oh, P.H. Martins. Yeah, there's some really brilliant colors in those. Are they inks? Like,
Oh no, it's like gouache, but it's really opaque. It's yeah. So like I said, I always lose the light of my painting, and because I think it's hard to plan ahead, and it's hard to stop, and oh god, it's so hard to stop. I always overdo it, and like, oh no, shit, I did it again. So
mhm. That improves with practice, though.
yeah, I know, but I have been
But
practicing,
I
but
think it's
it's
something
kind of,
a lot of watercolorists struggle with, that leaving areas of white when they, especially when you
yeah,
begin, inclination
yeah.
is just color here, color there, and especially if you started out working in acrylics where you use white paint, that's your white, and it's a little bit of a transition in the thought process of your work to allow negative spaces of the paper to remain.
Yeah. Yeah. I started in doing watercolor, but I still struggle with keeping the white, and I think it's because I'm in a hurry. I don't plan ahead. I'm not so good at planning. I plan in a hurry in my head, and then I start, and then I forget it, and then oh shit, I forgot. And
And then there's paint there. Yeah. I've met some artists who are naturally reductive in their process, and whereas other artists tend to be additive. And
what's that mean? What does that mean? The
it
first word you
means
said.
it means they can start with an assortment of things and then take things away. That's their creative process. I start with
Yeah.
something and I just want to keep adding stuff to it. I'm an additive
Yeah.
artist.
No.
And I think the really good watercolorists are those people who are naturally more reductive. You know, they look at something and they can get to the essence, just the lines they need to
Yeah.
to describe the object that they're trying to portray on paper. And whereas
Exactly.
me, if I draw a tree, I'll start with a trunk and then there's branches and there's little needles and it's pine cones and I got to add some bugs.
I
Just,
know that's that's a big problem. I try to paint looser to have to do to say as much as possible with the least amount of strokes. If you
yeah, I wish I could be more that way.
It's so fascinating. The people that makes like I once I saw it was a Japanese artist or something.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to God, it was 3 strokes he made with his brush, and I saw a person standing on a rock inside in a river, and was fishing, and they had a backpack on, and like the person was 3 strokes, and
Oh my goodness.
I was so shocked. It was like, what the heck?
I want to
How?
be that when I grow up. How did
Me
they do
too.
it?
And I try and I try and dang, and people say, oh yeah, well the painting style, like the loose style, like it a 5-year-old can do that, and no,
I'd like to see a 5-year-old do
it
that.
it's it's the hardest thing ever, and you don't know that before you try, because I said the same thing. I said, oh my God, that's so silly. Why do we why do people like this painting? It's so simple and everyone can do it. No,
No.
no.
As I sit here covering my entire page with paint.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love. I really admire that. It's not my style.
I know,
But
but
it's
I
almost a
want to. I
language.
really.
It's almost like calligraphy, the way that some of the traditional Japanese and Chinese painters. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They are amazing. Ugh. There are so many great artists, and the weird thing, uh, many artists people that paint themselves, they have like, oh, I have a favorite artist like this and this. I don't, or I can picture some paintings in my head, but I don't remember who made them. I don't remember anything, and I haven't, because well, I haven't been really paying attention to. I haven't liked that stuff until like 4 years ago. So it's been limited, and I have been focusing on watching people on YouTube making art, so I can learn to make art, to paint. So I know kind of the YouTube artist I like, but like the famous old gang, the
mhm. See, my
like,
very first college class was. I started college at 1 week out of high school, and my very first class was art history.
oh,
That's
did you
what
like it?
happens when you plan to take a year off between high school and college, and a week later, I'm in college classes.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Life is funny.
yeah. I never. Well, no, I lie. I did go to a school. It's not. I don't know. It's kind of. It's kind of a in between schools, like more like a fun school. I don't know. But anyway, it's not like a. It's anyway. Kids like from 18 years or up, they're coming there, and they are living in because we don't have like you have the people are going to college and they are living in the uh,
Dormitories?
dorms. Yeah, right. No, it's kind of like that, but it's not college. So uh
Do you
so
learn a
I
trade or?
yeah, well, it's more like in between. If so I when there I was going, there were and the thing is, we we only work in the field. Um we don't have any like other
No
subject, like
classroom?
yeah, we have classroom, but we didn't have like math, and we did and Norwegian and other like classes that you will have in a regular school. We just had like I took photo and video and um yeah, that's media kind of thing. So we
Oh,
had we only for a year we only did like stuff in that field, kind of, you know.
it
So
sounds like what
and
we
in
might call a trade school out here or a trade program. So it's
Yeah,
not
well, no,
it's not strong or it's not really heavily focused on academic stuff. It's really practical things that you would
yeah,
use in
no,
a job.
yeah, no, we have those, but that's not, that's kind of like college, but uh, we're just learning our trade instead of, but this is something else. But anyway, I don't, yeah, anyway. So there were some music classes there. Uh, some they only focused on music, and even a outdoor outdoor class, like, and the people that went there, they did like outdoor stuff, and they went on trips and slept in tent, and they went on all sorts of mountains and tops and everywhere. And
That sounds
yeah,
wonderful. I want to go to there. I want to time
yeah,
travel back to 19 and do that. That sounds like what I wanted to do at that age.
yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. But the backside is it costs money, and regular school doesn't cost money, so you don't have to pay. But if you are going to this kind of school, you have to pay
Hmm.
to do that. But a lot of people do it, and most of the kids love it, and I loved it. It was a wonderful year, and you get to know people, and you get friends, and you have a lot of fun. And anyway, where was I going with? Yes, oh yes, and um, besides all the like the photo and video and all the like getting the pictures in the old days, when we were had the film, you had to.
Mm-hmm. Dark room.
We yeah, so we yeah, dark room, and so we had a couple of hours in the week. In the week, we had to have something else, like a chosen. There were specific kind of things we could choose from,
I think we
and
call
I
those
ended
electives here.
yeah,
Electives.
yeah, yeah, probably. So, and I ended up in a art class. I don't remember how or why, but I did. And I remember we went to some kind of gallery in the city, and I was just like, no, because it was art history. It was art history. We didn't paint, and
Mm.
but I didn't care for it. I didn't care about it. I didn't understand why I had to learn it. I didn't. But now
It's pretty stodgy,
I
some
would
of
have
it.
loved it. What do you say? I'm
It's
sorry.
it's kind of stodgy or old fashioned when you're young to be,
Yeah,
and stuck in a room looking at these paintings on a wall of, stuffy old people in these goofy old costumes. It's
yeah, yeah. And I didn't grow up with parents with my mom. We never had anything art things. Yeah, never. So it was just, but I wasn't in that headspace then. So I don't remember anything I learned. I just remember we was walking around in the gallery and was watching these paintings, and like, what the heck? Everyone can do this. Now I'm thinking, geez, you were so stupid. So anyway, I don't remember where I actually was going with this story, because I
one one of the first times I ever went to a museum, an art museum, was a field trip, and we went to see an exhibit of installations, and um, I'd seen them in magazines and in art books, but I'd never seen the artwork in person, and was really struck by how um, these exhibits had traveled from place to place, and they had really taken a beating. And there were things like soap boxes with the silk screened labels of SOS pads or something like that, and then they were boxes made of plywood, and they were just chipped and beat up and faded. And I just remember looking at them and thinking, "Is this is art? Wow, it just kind of looks junky." And later I came to understand that the exhibit hadn't been curated or cared for very well, and the screen prints and stuff had just taken a beating as they'd been hauled from place to place. But it can really be different in a gallery from what you see in books, that's for sure.
Yeah, and also some things are really weird. No one likes, because it's art, everyone likes it. So some people will like it and some people won't, I guess. And
I remember the soup cans, the silk screen printings of all of the Campbell's soup cans, and it was just different. I think his work is better understood when you kind of see it as a body of work rather than one piece, because each piece it looks a little bit wrinkled in the frame, and it's not executed all that. There's screen prints and there were multiples of them, but if you see it all
Yeah.
kind of grouped together, then it makes a little bit more sense.
But the concept of like everything can be considered art if you have made a name for yourself, if you kind of make a dot on a page, it's worth a lot of money, and everything. Oh yeah, it's nice, and it's like the guy with the no clothes, and everyone was yeah.
Oh, Picasso's cocktail napkin, right?
No, the king, or not the king, the emperor or something.
The Emperor's New
Everyone's
Clothes, yeah.
yeah. So everyone is just, oh yeah, it's so nice because it's a very famous person or something. What was the deal with the banana was taped to the wall? You
Oh,
remember that?
yeah, I
It
do. I don't
sold
know
for
what
like
it.
a ton of money, and I'm thinking, what? You're buying a banana that will go bad, and someone said, no, they're buying the idea or the concept or whatever. I don't remember what he said, but that's like wild to me. That's what? That makes no sense. But everyone just have to do their thing.
I had a chance to do a semester of my school in Europe in 1991, and
Oh,
so I I bought a rail pass, and every time class was out, I made my way to the train station and got on a train and went somewhere, and I saw all
so where
kinds of
did
things.
you go to school?
I was in a program that was in Strasbourg and then Vienna and a bit of time in Budapest.
Oh,
And we were studying international law, so I was at places where, like, the European Parliament is in Strasbourg, France, and then the UN. There's a UN in Vienna, and just various places. But I was in 11 different countries over that 2 months, and
oh,
yeah, I got my money's worth out of that rail pass. I'll tell you, I went everywhere I could go on a train, and I went to Berlin to see Nefertiti's bust. That's in Berlin. And I went to Amsterdam to go to the Van Gogh Museum, which was fantastic if you ever get a chance to go there. They have his paintings hung in chronological order, so you can see his body of work from when he was just his first paintings of humble things like the potato eaters and the shoes, and they're very dull, kind of traditional Renaissance colors, and then it moves through as he develops, and his body of work was over a fairly short span of years. And just to watch, as you walk past the paintings, you can see how his brushstrokes developed and how his color sense began to emerge. And I think they had probably at least 4 or 5 different canvases of the sunflowers because he painted sunflowers again and again and again.
Yeah.
And you realize that the one that we see on greeting cards is not the only vase of sunflowers he painted. And that to me was like art history in one artist, just to see the development.
I think a lot of artists are painting several paintings of the same thing. I
Yes.
think
That's how you get
I
good at stuff.
huh?
That's how you get skilled at a subject, is to paint it again and
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
and
yeah. But we don't think about it's. Yeah, it's like this is also one thing. If you are starting to paint or whatever, keep the painting and date it. Put a date on it, because then you can, when you are looking back and you can see how far you have come. That's kind of nice. So, of course, it's a hot mess. Then I just throw it away. But if it's kind of a painting, I keep it.
Yeah, I can give a quick example of that. This was the first pebble thing I made. I think I started doing these in June, and it's a hot mess. I mean, there's lines, and my
Well,
outlines are kind of goofy, and I've got like tons of rocks all crammed into this space. Everything's filled out, and then you go, okay, here's maybe 6 or 8 later, and it's got a whole different sense to it that's much more interesting to
Yeah.
look at.
Right.
And it's just like a little bit of practice.
Exactly.
You know, this
And-
one, like, it's fun. It's got some bright colors, and oh, it's okay. But this one looks like maybe I want to put it in a little frame and maybe
Yeah.
do something with it.
Right. And that's also, I think, a thing I try to do, to show, not just show the things that is super great and that I'm think it's, oh, this is great, I can show this, but because everyone makes a mess and makes a mess and makes a mess, and it takes a long time to actually paint something you are really proud of, kind of.
Yeah. Well, and you start out with stuff that's kind of simple.
Yeah.
And then you just work along, and it'll come along. Your vocabulary of line improves as you go.
Yeah.
Your sense of space and your familiarity with the color. I had a couple pieces that were just absolute clinkers. They were very bad. I got done with them and I just went, oh no. And so what I did was I took, I think these are available in Europe. It's just a permanent felt pen called a Sharpie. Do you guys have those in
Yes.
Norway?
Yeah.
And I just outlined this kind of a teardrop shape, and then I cut them out, and then I collaged them. This isn't painted on here. These are all little collage pieces.
Oh, cool.
And so I converted what was kind of a horrible painting into collage. So nothing's wasted.
No, you can always do something with it, or yeah, I don't know, or cut it up and make some collages
Yeah.
of something, or outline, like you said, outline it.
Yeah,
But
draw something else on it.
often that can be a sign also to, if you always have to outline everything because you feel that it's not looking right. That is probably because you have the contrast wrong, that you don't have enough contrast and you don't have
Exactly. Too many medium tones, not enough lights and darks.
Yeah,
I have a hard time getting enough darks in my work. I always have. It's and that's true in my quilting too. I end up with these blocks that are all medium toned fabrics, and it's hard to buy things that are light and dark because I like what I like.
yeah, that's the problem. We like what we like. Yeah, I tend to go the other way. I make it too dark. So this one, I was watching a stream last night. What's her name? Clark, Clark Fine Art, I think. And she was painting a kind of a forest with some mushrooms and things. So I started doing it, and then it was late, and I was tired, so I went to bed. But anyway, I put down masking fluid. So, oh wait, it will be. Oh, okay, I can use that because to make things light and bright, you have to have something dark next to it. To make something glow, you keep the lightest light and the darkest dark next to each other. Then it will pop.
Not sure if I have enough palettes going today, Maya. That's another thing about watercolor paint. You can let it dry in your palette, and then you can re-wet it and come back to it. So it's pretty economical to use. You can't do that with acrylic paint.
Yeah, I'm horrible. I keep everything. I can't throw anything away. So uh, I just keep it and keep it and yeah, I don't know. Even though I know it's and that's the same with the acrylic. I hate the thing that you have to like squeeze out some paint on the palette and or the yeah and if you don't use it up, then it will dry out and you have to throw it away. So I have like a big can, or I have a canister right next to me, so I can take the paint I don't use. I just smash it on the canvas because then I don't feel it's it's a waste. But even though next time I come and I paint over the same paint, so I could just have thrown it away in the trash. But it doesn't feel like a waste as long as I put it on the
Are you
canvas
talking about
instead of
watercolor paint or
no
oil
no
or
no no
acrylic
no
or?
no acrylic acrylic paint. So I
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
but it's the same. I could just put it in the trash because I will paint over it next time I'm painting. So, but I can't do it. I hate to do it.
I make quite a few cards, so I keep rectangles about 4x6 or so, and I'll often just kind of clean my palette off and put the paint onto those, and then use them as backgrounds when I'm making greeting cards.
Yeah, yeah. You can use everything.
Oh, I remember I was going to ask you a question about your synthetic brushes. One of the things I
Mhm.
like about natural bristle brushes is they take up a lot of paint or a lot of water. Do you find that your synthetic bristle brushes take up the paint and water as well, or how do you work around that?
I think it's amazing. I think it takes up. Okay, well, this is a bit smaller. This is a natural hair. I think it's a Kolinsky. So you see, it will take more of course. Let me see here. It goes, a natural hair goes a long way with water. But this is doing it to, this brush was smaller than this, but I don't have a problem at all about keeping the water. This one is thicker. No, I think they hold a lot of water, but maybe I don't like it to be so really full water because I kind of lose control. So do you go out and paint like out in the wild?
In plein air?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't in years. You know, once I started carrying a phone with a camera,
Yeah.
I stopped taking photographs with my camera and I stopped sketching out. I think I kind of got out of the habit there. Do you?
Yes, I do. Or this year, I've not done it so much because I don't. Well, the hard thing is to get out of the front door. As soon as I'm out, I love it and I can do it forever. But to actually go outside and do it, kind of hard because I like to be inside and I like to have all my paints and I like to have everything available. So
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm not good at making decisions. So when I have to make decisions about what to take with me and what to leave at home, and yeah,
Yeah.
when I go and I always keep like a small pencil case with a water brush and a small paint thing and a smaller sketchbook than this. I always keep in my purse or my backpack that I carry around, and I have a set in the car, and so I need to have it available all the time
It's such a good
in
habit.
case I feel the urge to do it. And I think it was last year I had some because I never go into into town. I live like in the
Ah,
outer part of the it's inside the city limits kind of, but it's in the one of the edges. So
not quite the
I have
hinterlands.
to I have to drive like 10-15 minutes to get into the town, real town, like downtown. Yeah. So anyway, but it's nice there. And last year I had some appointments so I had to go into town, and the weather was nice, and I was sitting down in the on the dock or like down by the water because the city is it's on an island, so there's a lot of boats and there's a lot of. So I was sitting down there and I was sketching and painting, and it was so nice. But even though I know it's nice now because I don't have something to do in town, I don't go there, which is just
Mhm.
stupid. So because I really
Yeah.
enjoy it.
I have to drive about a half an hour to get away from the urban setting. And I don't paint the urban land. Some artists do, but I don't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I'm not either. I was when I was sitting by the sea because I can see the other side. So we have like a church that is known. The city I'm in, it's kind of a landmark. So I was in the bridge over to the. So I was kind of sketching the other side of the water, kind of. So no, to draw like urban city things. No, it's not my jam. I like nature. I like trees. I like flowers. I like animals.
When I
But it
lived in
was nice to
Alaska, I
just.
used to take sketch materials with me all over the place. But I moved back down to Oregon and live in an urban area, and it's usually by the time I get out into wilderness or parks, I'm just hiking and stopping to take a photo and not really sitting and sketching. But now that you're talking about it, I want to go do it.
Yeah, I think I really enjoy it. But like I said, it's the problem I have is to actually go and do it. So I wish I liked it even more, so I actually would go out and do it. But to sit and uh,
It's a
yeah,
little more
the
challenging to live
nature.
stream when you're painting in plein air than it is to be in the studio too.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's not. I have been thinking about trying to do it, but it's hard when then I had to use my phone and I had to take a tripod and it would be a I know some people they keep like a GoPro camera. They attach it to the backpack strap, the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder strap to the backpack, and they kind of have it face down, so they can have their hands free and they can paint and film it. But I don't have a GoPro camera, and I don't really need a GoPro camera. So, but even though I wasn't going to, it's not important to film it really. If I,
Yeah. Speaking of live
it's just
streams,
yeah.
where where are we at? It feels like we've been going a couple hours here.
I have no idea where I can. I don't know where I can see the time, but I can say, oh yeah, a couple of hours. Yeah, I was starting to feel like, kind of like I need to. Oh, there's the time. Oh, I see it now. Okay, yeah. So I kind of need to pee as usual.
I need to get headed. I've got a couple of things I need to go do this afternoon here
Yeah,
on our
yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to hold you here forever. It wasn't.
Oh no, it's been fun. It's always a delight to talk with you, Maya, and it's always I like to think it's always a good time at the workbench. Not always, but I find that if I do come and work for a while painting, I feel calmer and it's a little bit easier to go tackle the rest of life's challenges.
Yeah, yeah. I agree, and I get. Oh, hi, Miss Sunrise Dawn. Hi from North Georgia, and yeah, I
Hi,
feel
we have Dawn in
I
the
get
chat. Hi,
I get
Dawn.
yeah, she's here. I do get inspired by just by watching, but also by practice. We can talk and we can paint. We can well, now I haven't really done much, but I was kind of planning just to talk and show and yeah. Anyway, but I really enjoy doing this, and thank you very much for. I was so excited when you said you would come on with me because it's nice to have someone to talk to.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and I would just want to thank you so much for the encouragement to get to streaming. Um, I don't have a ton of equipment, so I always feel like, oh, I don't have a ring light, and I don't have a separate camera, and I haven't done this before, and it can just be a
Yeah,
bit
well,
daunting to step in and get started with it. So I thank you for being
I
so
know.
encouraging.
And that's the thing. If I hadn't done this before with someone else, I don't think I would have ever been doing it alone. Or so. I think it's okay to do it with someone else the first time at least, so you know how it feels like. So, and I hope we can do this again, and we can maybe we can paint some do some mindfulness, and you can show me some how to do the what do you
Yeah,
call
I
it?
think
Pebbles?
maybe show you a little bit of the tricks for drawing flowers.
Yeah,
Um, because I was kind of looking at those and breaking them down, and I realized that there's a fairly limited vocabulary of shapes that um, go into making those flowers, and I think they are something that each person can probably figure out uh,
yeah,
their own way. Like this particular painting, we've just got little circles, and they're like the letter O, and these little loops that are on the daisies, those are kind of like the loop of an L or an E.
yeah,
And there's just a little shape here on the petal that is just comes up and it does some squiggles, a little bit like a W or a V. Some straight lines. It's not a lot of complicated mark making. It's really just a matter of
yeah,
finding out what kind of shapes are comfortable for you to make with your own hand. And there's a little kind of almost a flame shape that comes out and defines the little petals on this flower. One of the goals of the mindfulness exercise is to do repetitive motions. Those are very soothing and they help the brain to replenish neurotransmitters and help reduce depression and anxiety. So that's one of the goals. That's why these have a bit of a simplistic look to them, because there's a repeated shape, and when you draw these repeated shapes and you do these patterns, it can be very calming. So
yeah.
it
Yeah, but
looks very
I find
complex, but it's really just a kind of a small handful of shapes that we use.
yeah, yeah, because I find painting is very therapeutic for me, therapeutic, and I kind of get in that. I feel I get in that mindfulness state, and no matter what I paint, if I'm in the right mood. So, but there's something about that simple that and just making shapes and the thing. I just wanted to. I keep striving for to make it look realistic, and I don't want that, but my brain keeps doing it. So
Yeah, these are very graphic.
yeah, and I
These are,
love
they're
that's
almost cartoons when you get done with them, especially with the bright colors. They're almost very cartoony.
did you see the sketching streams that the when I was just sitting here and sketching and I just hit the like button the live button just for
Yes, with
I
the
try
hobbit hole and the
yeah
sunflower and the what was the other
yeah
flower you were doing? Sort of a
I don't
book
remember, but I did one yesterday.
hibiscus almost.
I don't remember. I don't remember, but I kind of I want them to look realistic or something, and I can't make them not look. I don't know. I want them. I don't know if I can explain.
Yeah, I know. I really admire botanical drawings, and I will do those from time to time. But I think as I've kind of developed my own style, I end up with something that's more. Um, it's a very stylized version of like these are wild roses and these are daffodils, and so they're
Yeah, yeah,
much
and they
more.
are beautiful, and I really love them. So I am. the thing is that oh, I want to find my style, but I like to say, well, you don't find your style. The style will find you. So you just have to keep going and find it, and you have obviously found it, or it found you.
Well, it helps that I was a florist for many years and that I had my own flower shop. So
Oh,
I spent a lot of time
okay.
looking at flowers. So I kind of cheat a little
Okay.
bit. I've got a lot of
Okay. Now I feel better.
I've got a lot of information in my own head about what flowers and like these are little
Yeah,
Galax
yeah,
leaves and there's some
yeah,
Italian ruscus up here and you know
yeah.
it's
I have to look at picture, or they all look like just regular round flowers. So.
yeah it helps
Yeah.
to have a reference picture, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
worked in flower shops I was in high school like in 1980 and I was working in flower shops, so I did that for a lot
Oh,
of years. A lot of years.
okay.
Well,
Cool.
we
Yeah.
said our thank
Well,
yous, so I guess
yes.
it's time
Thank
for our
you.
goodbyes. And
Thank you
thank
for
you to
everyone.
anybody who has spent time with us in the chat. I
Yeah.
couldn't see the chat from my application, so thank you,
Hey,
friends, for being here
yeah.
with us.
Oh, hang on. Let me see. I have been um I've been playing with I don't ever say like and subscribe, so please like and sub. And I have shared Janelle's link. So
Clean up your
go
work
and check
area when you're done. It
and
makes it more of a pleasure to come back when you
yeah,
come back to your work the next day when everything's tidied up.
yep. It's true. So yeah, I think this was wonderful. I love this. So thank you to everyone who have been watching, and I have seen there have been some lurkers, but that's okay. We love lurkers. And thank you to people who will see it on
Yeah,
replay.
and just I would encourage everybody to go out and draw a little doodle, paint a little painting.
Yes, just try and put the brush to the paper, and you will see the magic happen.
Yeah, and if you've got any questions that was something we didn't cover or something that we kind of touched on, I'll be checking the comments. I'm sure Maya will also, since it'll be on her feed.
Yeah,
We'll try to
and
answer any questions.
my email is supposed to be on my. You said it wasn't, but I think it's there. If you just have to press the show the email button.
Oh,
Then
that's it. See, I was just looking to see if I could see it. I start pressing links and then I get kind of lost in
yeah,
space. Oh,
yeah. Anyway, but just ask questions if you want. If you want to, you have something you wonder.
okay. We'll see you
Yeah,
next time.
Miss Dawn, she's writing, and her writing does the same for her as the painting does for us. So everything can work. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, and have a lovely day, rest of your day, and I will see you in chat somewhere, and we keep in touch, and I hope we can do this again, like I said. And yeah,
I hope so too. Thank you again, Maya. Bye bye, everybody.
bye bye.